Well, now we get to start looking at where the rubber meets the road as far as effective partnering goes. And remember, this is one of the most critical things you can do. And we actually have a PDF for you to look at as well. But there's only 4 things that you need to do to effectively partner. And we're going to look at least in this session, we'll at least look at one of those. But the 4 things are, number 1, you have to identify the type of partner you need. And you end up making a list of potential partners, okay? So, for example, my personality type is a lion. I don't need to partner with another lion. I've got high lion. I'm all the lion I really need. Not that I wouldn't partner with a lion. Actually, I have a business where I hope I recruit a whole bunch of lions. But as far as running the business goes, we only honestly need one. But lions have a weakness. They're not detail-oriented. So they need to partner with someone who is, okay? So the first thing you need to do is you need to identify the type of partner you need. You make a list of all the potential partners that could fill that. So that's number 1. So in my case, I was in television production, and in the beginning, I was doing most of the things. I was writing, directing. I actually wasn't. I had a director, but I was directing the talent, and he was directing the crew. And I had lighting directors and so on. But I would do casting by myself. I'd do wardrobing by myself. I would do location scouting by myself. I'd work with set decorators. But I really didn't have anybody. So mine was a high-stressed level of work. And then I ultimately found the perfect partner for my producer. And this guy was so detail-oriented. I could trust him with sets. I could trust him with casting. I could trust him with just about everything. And so he would always narrow the field. When you go to cast for example, for a commercial, you might end up looking at 100 different people reading the script. And Frank would narrow it down to maybe 10 or 12. Then I would come in on day 2 or day 3, and I'd look at the best ones that he had found. But what did I save? I saved 2 or 3 days of having to focus on that, and I could focus on other things. And but then it comes to crewing. Typically, a crew for one of our shoots might be 60 people, and that's something I didn't want to do. Frank ended up doing all of that. It was great. So you identify the type of partner you need, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. Secondly, you've got to recruit from the list you create. So you might end up with 5 different people that could meet that particular need for partnering in that area. And so out of that list, how do you get a partner to say yes? Why should they partner with you? I mean, if you're going for somebody really good that is a lot better than you, a lot more experienced, why on earth would they want to partner with you? Why on earth would they want to partner with me? I was that same person. Well, we'll show you how you can recruit not just good partners, but partners way beyond your means, partners that are unimaginable, that you'd think, man, I'll never get that person, and you end up getting them. We ended up with 92 celebrities under contract, ultimately. And most of those were impossible. In fact, the best celebrities I ever got had said publicly they would never indulge themselves in a commercial. And so there are some real skill sets that will teach you in recruiting. Once you've identified the best, the ones you really want to go after, we'll show you some things in recruiting. There are things that you would do naturally that are the wrong things, that absolutely positively will put a big X between you and someone you're trying to recruit. That's our natural inclination. And so we got to get out of that. So we'll show you how to get out of that and how to do the right things. Okay, now the third skill set is actually recruiting the right partner. How do you get them to say yes? Do you start at the bottom, somebody you really think you could get? Absolutely not. Remember, we're shooting for the moon. So you always start with the best. And if the best says no, and you can't change their mind, then and only then do you go to the second person on the list. You never start with number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You always start with the number one person you want. Okay, so step 3 is the actual recruiting of that person. That's a skill set, because things we do naturally are big turnoffs. They put a big X between you and the other person. For example, I'll give you an example. You know what? I'm working on this project. It's so important to me. I really need you or I'm going to fail. Will you work with me on this? Because I really need this. Man, this could really change my life. Okay? Nah, they're not going to partner with you for that. Why? Because it's all about you. You know, your mama cares about you like that. And if you've got a loving spouse, they may care about you like that. Your kids have their own friends. They may not quite care as much on that. But a would-be partner does not care. What do they care about? They care about themselves. They care about their own interests, their own passions. The very first infomercial I did, we got 13 major celebrities to be in that for $1,000 each. Why? Because we told them that $1,000 each was going to go to their favorite charity, and the project itself was something that was very, very important to them. It was about polluted water and what we're doing to the earth. It was an environmental project. And you can't believe the names of the people we got because of that. So we basically, I basically, and my friend that was working on this, my other partner, we designed our approach. It was all about them and something that they wanted. None of them needed money. They were all multimillionaires. They were major celebrities. But they cared about the environment, and we had something that was going to be a game changer in protecting our kids from water that has terrible contaminants in it. So, number 3 is recruiting, but here's where most partnerships fail, this last one. Can you imagine what a waste? You go to all the effort to correctly identify where you need a partner. You go to the effort to make your lists. You go to the effort to identify and prioritize. You go ahead and you really give it your best on. You do everything right to recruit, and they say yes. Woohoo! You got a great partner. And then your partnership fails. Why? Because the last step is the most important. It's the effective utilization and motivation of that partner. I'll give you an example. A dear, dear friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for over 50 years. Friend is wrong. He's a real brother. He's a brother in the Lord, and he's a brother. He's just like a brother to me. I love this guy. He's a brilliant financial analyst. And there was this financial management firm that wanted to recruit him. He had a radio program, and they had heard him on the radio, and man, this guy's just knocking it out of the park, and he's got a pretty good radio following. And they said, these 2 partners in this one firm said, man, if we could get that guy, can you imagine what we could do for our clients, how good that would be? Well, they come to him, they recruit him, they get him. He signs on the dotted line. Guess what happens? Every time he says, okay, I've looked at all my factors. We need to move money of our clients into this area, into this stock, into this option, into this whatever. The other 2 partners would debate it, and they would go with their choice instead of his choice. Well, that's fine if it's once or twice or 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 2. But it was always, they wouldn't listen to him. So the people that he had as his clients, they had to listen to him. He managed their money, and their results were going like this, while the firm's results were going like that, okay? That or that. They would not effectively utilize him. It's like, imagine a team today, a sport team, goes to all the effort to recruit an incredible quarterback. But they don't give him any receivers. They don't go out and get a good line to protect him. So the guy ends up getting sacked 3 or 4 times every game because they didn't effectively utilize him. Okay? We know that most of the Hall of Famers, honestly, in football at least, quarterbacks wouldn't be there had their receivers not also been Hall of Fame receivers. And we can all think of a number of those. But effective utilization, and that's where you screw up. There are certain things that you need to do once you have a partner that will ensure that you effectively utilize them. Now you get into the area of motivation. Most people, just so you know, use the wrong motivation. So they actually demotivate their partners, and that's a norm. And there are lots of coaches in professional sports, college sports, that do certain things that demotivate their players. And Gary Smalley was a pro at motivating proper, and he would say, you know that team? Look at who they've recruited. Look at who they got. He said, they'll never win a championship. I know the coach. I watch how he works with them. He just knocks the wind out of them whenever he coaches them. And so we're going to show you when we get to proper motivation, we're going to show you there's 2 ways to motivate. One motivates and gets quick, great short-term results, but it destroys the relationship. The other, the results may be longer term, but the relationship becomes strong. And typically people perform in strong relationships much better than they do in terrible relationships. So we'll get into all of that when we get to motivating. So those are the 4 factors we're going to look at. And we'll start with identifying the right type of partner and what you need to do for that in our next session. See you then.